Hello, welcome to this session on must-do sets for CAT LRDI preparation. Whether you have just started or you're trying to put finishing touches to your CAT preparation, these are sets which you should not be missing on your journey. Now, today we'll be looking at mixed bag questions. Now, these are questions from all areas of LRDI. These are again relevant sets. We have handpicked them. I would suggest take these questions as a sectional test. The link for these tests are available in the description of this video. Please take this as a sectional test because it will enhance your skills of picking between 5 sets or 6 sets or something like that. Choosing between easy set or a difficult set or sets which you like and sets which you don't like is the most important skill and the most determining factor on succeeding in the LRDI section. How well you can judge sets, how well you can leave sets will decide how well you actually end up scoring in the LRDI section. If you are running short of time, obviously you can skip to the relevant sets. Each of the videos which we'll be releasing will have links available in the description where if you click on it, you can skip to the relevant set.
Hi, this is a question on distribution which came up in CAT 2018 slot 1. Okay, it's not difficult, it's not very easy, but it should be done definitely considering the level of difficulty of the overall paper. Let's see what this says. Adriana, Bandita, Chitra and Daisy are 4 female students and Amit, Barun, Chetan and Dev are 4 male students. So there are 4 females and 4 male students, each of which studies in 3 colleges, X, Y and Z. Each student majors in one subject among marketing, operations and finance and minors in different among these 3. So if I major in marketing, I cannot minor in marketing. I'll have to major in say market. If I major in marketing, I'll have to minor in either operations or finance. So this is the information which is given to you. Then you have some information like there are 3 students here, both male students, etc. So you'll have to basically fill up a grid which basically talks about what are the different who studies in which college, which specialization he is taking and so on, he or she is taking and so on. Also, if you look at it from the questions, question 1 can be solved relatively easily compared to the other ones if you read the data once completely. The other 3 will require some amount of working. Okay, so let's see what we get. So you'll have a grid like this. Okay, so let's read the questions, the statements properly. 3 students are from X, 3 are from Y and 2 are from Z and both of them are females. So you'll have in Z, both of them are females. And if you look at the first question, it asks you who are from Institute Z. So both of them have to be ladies. Right? Now, if you look at it, it says Adriana and Dev study in the same institute. So Dev is a male, right? So it cannot be Adriana. Similarly, Daisy and Amit study in the same institute. So it cannot be Daisy. So it has to be Bandita and Chitra. So that part can be solved pretty easily. Okay, so they have to be from Z. Okay, so let's try to figure the rest of the question out. Okay, so you have both males from Y minor in finance while female from Y major in operations. Only 1 male majors in operations while the remaining 3 female studies in marketing. 1 female and 2 male major in finance. Okay, that is there. Okay, Adriana and Dev are from the same institute. Daisy and Amit are from the same institute. Okay, so these 2 are from the same institute. Daisy and Amit are from the same institute. Okay, so we knew that these 2 are from Z. Right. Okay, what else do we have? Barun is from Y. Barun is from Y. Okay, and majors in operations. He majors in operations. Chetan is from X and majors in finance. Chetan is from X, majors in finance. Okay, so this part is done. Daisy minors in operations. Minors in operations. Okay, so this part is filled. So let's fill this table as of now. Right. Okay, so remaining 2 are from Z. So we already had these 2 as Z. Okay, we also have 3 female students minor in marketing. So I've filled this up. The remaining 3, one's operations is given, the other 3's minor in marketing is there. Okay, what else do we have? You have Adriana and Dave are from the same institute. Daisy and Amit are from the same institute. Okay. Now let's use the process to try to find out where we can get. Only one male majors in operations. So this is there. So these two have to be either marketing or finance. Okay. These two have to be marketing or finance. So this is not known. Okay. Both students from male minor in both male students from Y minor in finance. Right. Both male students from Y minor in finance. So minor in finance. So this cannot be. So this has to be finance. Okay. While the female from Y majors in operations. So this cannot be from Y. Daisy cannot be from Y because she is minoring in operations. So she cannot major in operations. These two are from Z. So this has to be from Y. So this has to be from X. Now Daisy and Amit are here. So Amit will be from X, which means Dave will be from Y. What else do we know? Both the males from Y minor in finance. Okay, so this part is done. While the female from Y majors in operations. Okay, so this part is also taken care of. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, so I've written this down. Okay, what else do we have? We have only one male majors in operations that we have done. Okay, one female and two male students major in finance. One female majors in finance. This can be anyone. Two male students major in finance. Okay, this guy cannot major in finance, so this has to be finance. Okay, this cannot be finance. It also cannot be operations, right? So this has to be marketing. Okay, so this is taken care of. Okay, this we have already used up. Okay, this we have used up. So only one female in finance is left. One of them will be finance. That's all we have. The rest of the state, this can be either marketing or operations. This can be marketing or operations. This can be depending on what they have. Right. So let's go to the questions. Okay, let's go to the questions. We have summarized all the information. Okay. First one says, who are the students from Z? We have already studied this. One. Which subject that they major in? They minor in. Dave's minor is finance. Option 1. Which subject does Amit major in? Amit's major is finance. Option 3. And if Chitra majors in finance, Now, this is the only woman who can major in finance. The other two cannot major in finance. Now, this is marketing. This cannot be finance, so this has to be operations. This is operations. This cannot be finance, so this has to be marketing. Now, your question is, what does Bandita major in? Bandita's major will be operations. Option 1. Right? So reasonably easy set. It's not difficult. The catch was to identify B and C immediately as Z. Okay, once you do that, the rest of the question becomes just fill in the blanks and solve it. That completes this particular question.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notifications button so that you are notified when we are releasing our next set of videos. Please do like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us through WhatsApp and Telegram as well. All the relevant links are available in the description of this particular video.
Okay, it says a multi-layered pie chart shows sales of LED television sets for a big retail electronics outlet from 2016 and 2017. So you have each month which is given 2016, 2017. Right? Right? With each label showing the month followed by sales figure of that month. So in January, 80 units were sold. In February, 60 units were sold. In March, 100 units were sold, and so on. There are some data which is missing. Right? The innermost layer shows the annual sales. The middle layer shows the quarterly sales, and the outer layer shows the monthly sales. Right? It is also known that sales figures during 3 months of second quarter form an arithmetic progression, 3 months of the fourth quarter also follows a arithmetic progression. Okay, and if you look at the questions, you have to find out percentage increase, percentage increase, percentage decrease, percentage increase. So we basically need to fill up this data. Okay, so let's see what it says. It shows that the sales in the first 3 months of the second quarter, it's an arithmetic progression. It's an arithmetic progression. Now, total is 150. So middle is this number is 40. So the middle number should be 50. And this should be 60. Right. That part is taken care of. Okay. Let's see what else is missing. These three. This is also an arithmetic progression. Fourth quarter is also an arithmetic progression. Total is 360. So middle number should be 120. If this is 100, this should be 140. What else is missing? Okay, December is missing. Let's find it out. This total is 500. So this is 320. So 180 should be December. Now we have every month numbers. If we require, we can find out the values. Let's basically, this is what we have. Let's go to the questions. What is the percentage increase in sales from December 2017 as compared to December 2016? This is 140, from 140 to 180. It's a rise of 40 on 140, which is 2 in 7. 2 in 7 is 28%. That's which quarter was the percentage increase in sales from the same quarter of 2016 the highest? Okay, so this total will be 80, 60, 100. So this total will be 240, whereas this total is 220 plus 160 is 380. So this is a rise of 140 on 240, which is 14 on 24. This is for quarter 1. Let's check for quarter 2. From 150 it has become, this is 140 plus 60, 200. Right, 150 to 200 is not good enough. Okay, quarter 4. Quarter 4 is from 360 to 500. That's a rise of 140 on 360. That's 14 on 36, which is going to be lesser than this. So this is not good enough. Quarter 3. Quarter 3, you can actually do it visually if you want to add it up. This is 130 plus 120, 250. So from 250 it has actually fallen to 220. So this is actually a drop. So option 1. Right. Okay. During which quarter was the percentage decrease in the sales from the previous quarter sales the highest? Again, let's go to it from the options. Quarter 2 of 2016. Okay, it's a drop of 90 on 240. So this is 90 on 240. Second one is quarter 1 of 2017. This is actually a rise. So this is out. Quarter 4 of 2017. This is also a rise. And quarter 2 of 2017. Quarter 2 of 2017. It's a drop from 380 to 200. That's a bigger drop than this. Right, it's a drop of 180 on 380, roughly 50%. So this is your biggest drop. And the last one, which month was a percentage increase in sales from the previous month's sales the highest? Again, let's go use the options. October of 2016. October 2016, it's a rise of 45 on 55. It's a rise of 45 on 55. So that's 9 by 11. October of 2017. October of 2017, it's more than 100% rise. It's a rise of 80 on 70. So 8 by 7. This is obviously out. March of 2016. March of 2016 is here. It is not more than double. So this is out. And March of 2017. Again, not more than double. So option 2 will be your correct choice. Pretty simple question. Definitely should not have been missed in the actual examination. All you needed to do was just fill up this data and your question was solved.
A lot of students miss out on good B schools because they simply don't apply and they are ignorant. They don't do any research beyond the IIMs and they are more worried about their profile and academics, etc., rather than actually getting into a good B schools and making a career in the management field. If you would like personalized B School assistance, all you need to do is fill up the Google document. Link is available in the description of this video, and we'll send you individual B School recommendations which fit your profile and your career aspirations. There are 21 employees working in a division, out of which 10 are special and remaining are regular employees. So you have 10 special and 11 regular employees. Okay. In the next 5 months, the division has to complete 5 projects every month. So 5 into 5, 25 projects. So out of the 25, 5 projects are challenging and the remaining are standard. So you have 20 standard projects and 5 challenging projects. Okay. Every month, the 5 teams, T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, work on a project. Each T1 to T5 are allotted the challenging project for the first, second, third, fourth and fifth month respectively. So in first month you will do 5 projects, second month you do 5 projects, third month you do 5 projects, fourth month you will do 5 projects, and the last month also you will do projects. So in the first month, T1 will get the challenging project, second month T2 will get the challenging project, third month T3 will get the challenging project, and so on. Okay, so this is the process. The team assigned challenging project has one more employee than the rest. Now there are 21 employees. Okay, there are 21 employees. So it says the team which has a challenging project has one more employee than the rest. So if I divide them equally, you'll have 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. That's 20. The one additional person goes to the team which will be having the challenging project. So in the first month, team 1 will have 5 members, second month team 2 will have 5 members, third month T3, fourth month T4 and fifth month T5. So this is the number of challenging members which are there. Then there are certain assignments which are there, more information. So I've shifted it down to, I've summarized this in here. So we'll see how the project actually progresses. Okay, so you have 5 employees here. Next month you'll have 5 employees here. Next month you'll have 5 employees here, 5 employees here, and 5 employees here. These are the teams which are doing the challenging project. Okay, now in the first month for special employees, okay, T1 is 1 more than T2, T2 is 1 more than T3, T3 is 1 more than T4, and T4 is 1 more than T5. So if this is X, this will be X plus 1. This will be 1 more than this, so X plus 2. This will be X plus 3, and this will be X plus 4. Okay, and sum of this is 10. There are 10 special employees. So if I add this, you'll get 5x plus 1 to 4, 10 equals 10. So x should be 0. So in the first month, you have 0 special employees here. So you'll have 1 special employee here, you'll have 2 special employee here, you'll have 3 special employees here, and you'll have 4 special employees here. Okay. Now it says the balance will be regular employees. Okay. Now there should be 5 employees in T1, so 1 should be regular. Here there should be 1 regular, 3. Here there should be 2 regular. Here you should be 3 regular, and here all the 4 members are regular. Now once this project is done, this is the changeover rule. A team is allocated a challenging project for the month, gets 2 special engineers from the team from the last month, and 1 regular engineer is given back. This is an exchange. So the first stage of exchange, okay, let me just erase this, create some more space. Okay. So in the first stage of exchange, okay, the next month T2 is going to get the special project. So the challenging project. So it will get 2 special engineers from the previous team. So from 3 it will go to 5 special engineers, and in return it will give 1 regular engineer back. So from 1 it will become 0. So the team becomes 5-0 again. Okay, let me just write this. Okay, it becomes 5-0 again. Okay, now what will do T1? It loses 2 employees, so it will have 2, and it gains 1 back. 2 and 2, 4. Right, everything else remains as it is. 2 and 2 will remain 2 and 2, 1 and 3 remain 1 and 3, 0 and 4 remains 0 and 4. Now there is a second level of change. If after the exchange, which means this exchange, if T1 has any special engineers and T5 has any regular engineers, then the shift from there, then you have to shift one special engineer from T1 to T5 and one regular engineer back. Okay, and the same has to be done for T2 and T4 also, if they have any special engineers and regular engineers. Okay, so let's do this change. Now you have a special engineer here and you have a regular engineer here, so you'll have to exchange here. So instead of 2 2, you'll have 1 3. This will become 1 4, 1 3 again, sorry. Same is going to be an exchange between T2 and T4. So from 5 0 it will become 4 1, and from 1 3 it will become 2 2. This remains exactly as it is. T3 remains exactly as it is. Now let's repeat the process in the next month. In the next month the same process will happen. Now T2 had a challenging project, so next month T3 will have a challenging project, so it will get 2 more employees, 2 special employees. So this will become 4. It will have to give back 1, so this will become 1. This will change to become 2 2. Okay, now the second exchange will be there. There is a special employee, so it will move to T5. A regular employee will come here, so this will become 0 4. This will become 2 2. Okay, similarly this will also, there will be an exchange here also. From 2 2 this will become 1 3, and from 2 2 this will become 3 1. All right, okay, now let's see what happens the next month. Next month 2 employees will go from here and 1 will go from here, so this will become 2 2. This will become 5 0. Others remain as of now the same. Now let's see if the exchange is possible. There are no special engineers here, so it will stay as 0 4. This will stay at 2 2. There is a special engineer here, and there is no regular engineer here now, so this will stay at 1 3. Right. Okay, so this remains. Now in the last month from T4 to T5 there will be an exchange, so this will become this will become 3 1. This will become 4 1. Okay, this will remain as it is. Now there will be an exchange. There is no special engineer, so this will remain at 0 4. Okay, there is a special engineer, so there will be an exchange. So this will become 0 4. This will become 4 0, and this will stay at 2 2. Right, so this will be the entire process. Okay, we also know a standard project has 100 credits, a challenging project has 200 credits. Credits are shared equally among team members. Now a standard project has 4 members, so each person will get 25 points. A challenging project has 5 members, so each person will get 200 by 5, which is 40 points. Okay, so this is what we have got. Okay, let's go to the question. I have the parts in detail. I have written down the steps in detail for ease of use. Okay, this is after the first exchange, and this after the second is applied. Okay, so this is what to look. The actual project worked by these people, these slightly shaded people. Okay, so let's work. The number of times in which the composition of T2 and the number of times in which the composition of T4 remains unchanged in 2 successive months are T2 and T4. Okay, from 3 1 it became 4 1, from 4 1 it became 1 3, from 1 3 it became 1 3, so it remained unchanged here. 1 3 to 0 4, no. So there is only once it remained unchanged, so these two are out. Let's see how many times T5 remain, sorry, this is the option. How many times, okay, T2 remains unchanged only once. So this is out, this is out. Okay, let's see how many times, sorry, this is out. Okay, so let's see how many times is T4 remains unchanged. T4 remains unchanged. Change here, change here, change here, change here. It never remains unchanged. So 1, 0 will be your correct choice. Right? Okay, let's look at the next one. The number of SE in T1 and T5 for projects in the third month. In the third month, number of SE in T1, number of SE in T1 is 0, and number of SE in T5, T5 will be 2. So 0, 2, option 1 is your correct choice. That's pretty easy. Let's go to the next one. Which of the following cannot be the total credit points earned by any employee from the project? Okay. Now, we know for a standard project you get 25 points. For a challenging project you get 40 points. So 20 for a 25 for a standard project and 40 for a challenging project. Now, we don't know how many challenging projects a person does, how many regular projects or standard projects a person does. There is a possibility that he can do all standard projects. He can also do all challenging projects. So if he starts with all 5 standard projects, he will get 100 points overall. 5 into, he will get 125 points overall. And if he does all 5 challenging projects, he will get 5 into 40, 200. Now, every time he goes from standard to challenging, he will lose 25 points but gain 40. So it will be an increment of 15. So he can score from 125, this will become 140. From 140, it will become 155. From 155, it will become 170. From 170, it can become 185. And from 185, it can become 200, right? Depending on the composition. So 140 is possible, 150 is not possible, 170 is possible, 200 is possible. So 150 is a number which cannot be earned in terms of points. There is no way you can earn 150 points at the end of these 5 projects given the distribution of points. Okay, and let's look at the last one. Okay, one of the employees named Anik scored 185 points. Which of the following cannot be true? Now 185 points, if you go back to the previous one, 185 points, this was all 5 challenging, this is 4 challenging, 1 special, 1 standard. So 185 will be 4 challenging and 1 special, 1 standard. 1 standard project. Okay, now it says which of the following cannot be true. Okay, Anik worked only in T1, T2, T3, T4. Anik worked only in T1, T2, T4, T5, T2, T3, T4, T5, or T1, T3, T4, T5. Okay. Now let's see how the process, what are the transitions possible. Now from T1, you can go to T2 because of the exchange in the second round. You cannot go to T3 directly. You can go to T4. Can you go to T4? No, you cannot go to T4. You can go to T5. From T2, you can go to T1, T3, or T4. Okay. Now from T3, you can go to T2 or T4. Right. From T4, you can go to T5, you can go back to T3, or you can have the exchange to T2. And from T5, you can either go to T4 or you can go all the way to the front, T1. Okay, so let's see which of the paths are not possible. T1, T2, T3, T4. From T1 to T2 is possible, T2 to T3 is possible, T3 to T4 is possible. So first one is possible.
Okay, T1, T2, T4, T5. T1, T2, T2 to T4, T4 to T5 is possible. So this is also possible. Okay. T2, T3, T4, T5. T2, T3, T3, T4, T4 to T5. All this is also possible. So this seems to be the only one which is not possible. Let's see it. T1, T3, T4, T5. Okay. Now you can go from T1 to T5. T5 you can go to T4. And from T4 you can go to T3. So you don't do T2 at all. But if you do this part, okay, will you be actually working on special projects? Okay, you work on a special project here. Okay, then you go to T5. If you go to T5, you will not be doing the special project. So one standard project you will be doing. From T5 you will be going to T4. Again, not a special project, it's a regular project. So if you do two regular projects, there is no way you can hit 185 points. So this fourth one seems difficult. See, all the other cases you can start with, these four can all be challenging projects, and one, if just because you stay there, you do the regular project. But in this case, if you go from T1 to T5 directly, you will first do this. You can first do the special project or challenging project, but T5 and T4, they will both be standard projects. So the moment you do two standard projects, you cannot hit 185 points. So option 4 will be your correct choice. Okay, that finishes our set.
If you get stuck anywhere with respect to preparing for LRDI, there are some free resources which are available on our YouTube channel. We have a playlist on how to prepare for LRDI. It includes which are the topics which you need to focus on, how much do you need to spend on each area. Also, we tell you how to go about picking sets in the examination, right? So if you are not able to pick even a single set, this is a good framework to start with and build on for your CAT LRDI preparation. If you want any further assistance in terms of speaking with us, getting personal guidance, doing more practice, following a more structured path to LRDI preparation, please do look at our Ultimate LRDI course. So this question is basically on mixtures and alligation. Let's see what this says. A health drink company's R&D department is trying to make a various diet formulations which can be used for specific purposes. It is considering a choice of 5 alternative ingredients: O, P, Q, R and S. So there are 5 ingredients over here which can be used in different proportions in the formulations. The table below gives the composition of these ingredients. The cost per unit is also given. So 1 unit of O costs 150 rupees, P costs 50 rupees, Q costs 200 rupees, R costs 500 and S costs 100. Now these are the various compositions. So O has 50% carbohydrate, 30% protein, 10% fat, 10% minerals. P has 80 and 20, nothing else, and so on. Right, and if you look at the questions, you are required to figure out if a given output is given, if a given dosage is required, like 10% minerals, 30% protein, or 10% fat, 30% protein, etc. What will be the ratio or how many ways in which they can be mixed, etc. So there's nothing much to do about in this data as such. Let's go to the questions one by one and try to solve them. Okay, the first one says, for a recuperating patient, the doctor recommended a diet containing 10% minerals and at least 10% protein. How many different ways can you prepare this diet by mixing at least 2 ingredients? Right, you have to mix at least 2 ingredients. You can mix 3, you can mix 4 also, but you need to make sure that 30% protein should be there and at least 10% minerals should be. A diet should have 10% minerals. Now, let's look at 2 items. We can add the third one or the fourth one or the fifth one later on, but let's add 2. To have 10% minerals, right? One scenario can be both of them are 10%. The two drugs which you're mixing, or the 2 ingredients that you're mixing, both have 10% minerals. So in whatever proportion that you mix, you'll have 10% minerals. The second scenario would be one of them is less than 10% and the other one is more than 10%, and then they mix to get a 10% mixture. Right? So you cannot have a scenario where both of them are less than 10%. If both of them are less than 10%, you'll not be able to get a mixture. Now let's look at the second scenario. If you look at the second scenario where one of the ingredient is less than 10%, the other one should have minerals more than 10%. Now no ingredient has more than 10% minerals, right? So this case cannot exist. So the only way you can mix it is if you mix two or more drugs which have 10%. So these two are the only cases possible. Now, can you mix it so that you get at least 30% protein? Right? Now, even the protein component is the same, 30% each. So no matter in whichever ratio you mix it, the final mixture will have 30% protein and 10% minerals. The fat percentage and the carbohydrate percentage might vary, but minerals and proteins will be 10% and 30% respectively. So that part is satisfied. Only one particular way, option 1 will be your correct choice. Question number 2 says, which of the following is a formulation having lowest cost per unit? Now here we have a cost cost part here. Having at least 10% fat and at least having 10% fat and at least 10% protein, the diet has to be formed using 2 ingredients. Right? The fat percentage should be exactly 10%. Fat percentage should be exactly 10%, right? And should have at least 30% of protein, right? Again, if you look at the previous one, we could get 10% if there are 2 components with 10%, or one of them is more than 10%, other is less than 10%. Now for fat, there is only one component which is 10%. So the other component, so you need 2 ingredients which have 10%, which is not possible, right? So if to get exactly 10% fat, if you have one value which is less than 10%, the other value has to be more than 10%, right? You cannot have both of them either less than 10% or both of them more than 10%, which also means that I cannot use this ingredient O because it has exactly 10% fat. Right? It has exactly 10% fat. So if you mix a value which is more than 10% with something which has 10%, the final value will be more than 10%. Similarly, if you mix something which has less than 10% with something which has exactly 10%, the final value will have less than 10%. Right? But I need exactly 10%. So because there is only one 10% value available, I cannot use O. So you can either mix P with Q, you can mix P with R, or you can mix S with Q or S with R. Now let's look at the second condition. It should have at least 30% protein. It should have at least 30% protein. Now if you mix P and Q, if you mix P and Q, Q has exactly 30% protein, but P has only 20% protein. So whichever ratio you mix it in, the final number will be between 20 and 30. Final number will be between 20 and 30, but not 30. So this is out. With P and R, possible. P and R, it's possible. 20 and 50 can mix to give you a 30%. It's possible. Right. With S and Q, both of them are more than 30. So definitely possible. And with S and R also, it is possible. So these 3 scenarios are possible. Now, what do I need? I need the lowest cost per unit. Now this is where you need the alligation process. Right. So you have, let's try P and R. What ratio? Now fat is 10%, right? So that value has to be mixed and I will get, my final value will be the alligation of these two. Okay. So to get 10%, to make 0 and 40, to get 10%, the ratio should be 30:10 or 3:1. If you mix them in the ratio 3:1, what will be the protein? What will be the protein percentage? 60 plus 50 is 110 divided by 4. 20 into 3 is 60. 60 plus 50 is 110. 110 divided by 4 is 27.5. That will not be good enough to give 30%. So PNR as a combination itself is not feasible. Let's try SNQ. If I try SNQ, okay, let's try RNS because we have already done we have already done two parts, right? So you have 0, 40, 10. This has to be mixed in the ratio 3:1. Right. Will it have more than 30% protein? Definitely will have more than 30% protein. Why? Because both of them have 50% of protein over here. But what will be the price of this? The price of 4 units of this, 3 plus 1, 4 units, will be 100 plus 3 into 500, which is 1500. 100 plus 1500 is 1600. 1600 divided by 4 is 400 rupees per unit. Now that's pretty expensive. Now, can we do it with P and Q, with S and Q? We can definitely do it with S and Q. 0 and 50 in some relation will give you 10% for sure. 0 and 50. And no matter whichever way you mix it, you will definitely get more than 30% of protein. You'll definitely get more than 30% of protein. So SNQ is also feasible. Now, should I choose SNQ or SNR? We don't even have to calculate the average price here. The average price is going to be lesser. Why? Because Q's price is 200. S's price is 100. You mix 200 and 100. No matter what you do, the average is going to come out between 100 and 200, which is going to be lesser than 400 for sure. So the cheapest part is SNQ. Option 4 is your correct choice. Question number 3 says, in what proportion P, Q and S should be mixed to make a diet which has at least 60% carbohydrate at the lowest cost per unit? You need the lowest cost per unit as well as should have at least 60% carbohydrate. Now, if you just were to look at the cost, right, S is the cheapest, followed by P. So P is the cheapest, followed by S and then Q, right? So I would like to have as much portion of P, then S, and as little as Q as possible. As little of Q as possible, right? That will be the cheapest one. Now, if you observe carefully, this is 2 parts out of 6 P is there. This is 4 parts out of 7. This is 2 parts out of 7. This is 3 parts out of 6. And this is 4 parts out of 6. So let me first try the 5th option. Only if it does not give me 60%, I will even look at the other ones. Why? Because I need the lowest cost per unit, right? Okay. So if I mix this in the ratio 4, 1, 1, P, Q, and S in the ratio 4, 1, 1, what will be the carbohydrate percentage? Thankfully, the carbohydrate is the most in P also, right? So you'll definitely get at least 60% of carbohydrate for sure, right? If you want to verify, we can verify that. 4 into 80 will be 320. 1 into 10 will be 10. 1 into 45 will be 45. 365 plus 10 is 375 divided by 6, easily more than 60%. So this is good enough. So option 5, just by observing and looking at the relative cost and applying averages, we can solve this pretty easily. And the last one says, the company is planning to launch a balanced diet required for growth needs of adolescent children. The diet must contain at least 30% each of carbohydrate and protein, not more than 25% fat, and at least 5% minerals. Which of the following combinations is of equally mixed ingredients is feasible? The ingredients should be mixed equally. So all I need to do is take the average of the parts and check whether it is satisfying these criteria. What should it have? 30% of carbohydrate, 30% or higher of carbohydrate, 30% or above of protein, 25% or lesser of fat, and 5% or above of minerals. Right. So let's check. First one is ONP. Now, if you take ONP, carbohydrate will be 65. 50 plus 80 divided by 2, that's 65. But protein will be only 25. So out. If you take RNS, mineral is 5%, fat is 20%, protein will be 50%, Carbohydrate will be 45 plus 5 divided by 2, only 25%. I need 30% or more. Out. Let's try PNS. If we try PNS, carbohydrate is okay, protein is okay, 35%, fat is 0, mineral is only 2.5%. I need 5%. So this is also out. If we try QNR, mineral is 7.5, fat is too much, 35%. I need only 25%. So this is out. So option 5 will be a correct choice. Just for academic purposes, let's check O and S. Mineral will be 7.5%, fat will be 5%, protein will be 40%, and carbohydrate will be 47.5%. Right? So satisfies all criteria. Option 5 is your correct choice. It's a pretty straightforward set. Key point to know is basically understand how mixtures work, figure out what are the constraints. In some cases it was the cost, in some cases it was basically the ingredients which are there, in some cases the ingredient ratio is given, in other cases you have to figure that out. So an application of mixtures, alligation and averages. In an actual exam situation, about 8 to 9 minutes max. I have obviously taken longer to explain it as much as possible. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notifications button so that you are notified when we are releasing our next set of videos. Please do like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us through WhatsApp and Telegram as well. All the relevant links are available in the description of this particular video.
Now, this is a question which was perhaps one of the easiest questions from the second slot in CAT 2017. Okay, it says in an 8x8 chessboard, a queen placed anywhere can attack a piece if the piece is present in the same row or in the same column or in any diagonal position in any possible 4 directions, provided there are no piece in between in the path from the queen to that piece. Okay, the columns are labeled from A to H and the rows are numbered 1 to 8, bottom to top. So I have numbered them. Okay, now the position of queen is something like this. So if a queen is in, say queen is here, okay, so it can take any piece along the column, any piece on the row, or any one on the diagonal which is there. Okay, any piece on the diagonal. Okay, there should not be any piece blocking the path of the queen. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. I'll just there. The numbering of the rows and columns is also mentioned. From left to right it is A to H. These are the columns, and numbered from 1 to 8 from bottom to top. Okay, so C5 means the position is in C column, 5th row. Okay, so let's go to the questions. Question number 1 says queen is at C5. Queen is at C5. Okay, and the other pieces are at position C2. C2. Okay, G1, G3, and G5. G5 and A3. A3. Okay, now the question is how many are under attack by the queen? There are no other pieces on the board. Okay, so queen can take this, queen can take this, queen can take this, and the queen can take this. So there are 4 pieces which are under attack by the queen. Option 3 will be your correct choice. There are 4 pieces which are under attack by the there are 4 pieces which are under attack by the queen. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, the next one says if the other pieces are only at A1, A3, B4, D7, H7, and H8. Which of the following positions the queen of the queen results in maximum number of pieces being under attack? Maximum number of pieces being under attack. Okay, let's see with which of them. We'll look at it on a case to case basis. F8. If I put the queen in F8, okay, if I put the queen in F8, you can attack 1 and 2 pieces. Okay, if I put it in A7, A7 would be here. So you can attack 1, 2 pieces. So both of them are out, because if one is correct, the other one should also be correct. Let's try C1. C1 is here. So you have 1, 2, only 2 pieces. Again, this is also out. So C3 should be your correct choice. Right? It's D3. Okay. So D3 is your correct choice. D3 is here. Okay. So you have 1, 2 and 3. Even at C3 you will have the correct choice. 1, 2, 3 and 4. There are 4 pieces under attack at C3. So whichever one is it, C3 or D3, both of them are the correct ones. Okay, let's go to the next one. If the other pieces are only at A1, pieces are at A1, A3, B4, D7, H7, H8. Okay, how many positions the queen cannot attack any of the pieces? Okay, first of all, the easiest ones to remove are the rows and the columns. Okay, so all these rows are out. If the queen is here, she will take up the pieces. 1, 2, 3. This will also take up. Let's take out the columns also. A will be out, B will be out, D will be out, H will be out. So pretty restricted over here. Okay, so this is out completely, this is out completely, this is out completely, this is also out, this is also out, this is out, this is out, this is out, and this is out. Okay, so let's see where the queen can be. Okay, can she be in any of these C positions? This is out, this is out, this is out, this is out, this is also out, this is out. No, nowhere on C. Let's try E. E, this is out, this is possible. This is one position where it is not there. Out, out, this is out, this is out, these two are also out. So in E there is one position. Let's try F. This is out. If I put queen here, this is possible, right? So she's safe. This is out, this is out, this is out, this is out, this is out. Okay, F is there. Okay, let's try G. In G, if I put here, okay, if I put here, safe. Okay, this is out. Okay, this, if I put here, there is no attack anywhere, right? So this is also there. These two are out, and H there is no. So there are 4 positions on the board in which the queen can be placed and there will be no attack. Okay, and the last one, suppose the queen is the only piece on the board and in position D5. Position is D5. This is the queen. Okay, how many positions can the piece be placed such that it is safe from attack from the queen? Okay, anything on the column, row and the diagonal should be out. Okay, so in the column there are 7 positions out, row 7 positions out. Okay, let's look at the diagonal. 3 and 3, 6 positions out. Along this diagonal you have 3 plus 4, 7 positions out. So 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6, there are 21 plus 6, 27 positions which the pieces cannot be placed, plus the piece cannot be placed on the queen. So there are 28 positions where the piece cannot be placed. All the remaining places, the piece can be placed and it will not be under attack from the queen. Like for example, it can be placed here, it can be placed here, it can be placed here, and so on. So from 64, if I take out 28, the balance will be 36. Option C is your correct choice. Okay, so that finishes our set.
a lot of students miss out on good B schools because they simply don't apply and they are ignorant. They don't do any research beyond the IIMs and they are more worried about their profile and academics, etc., rather than actually getting into a good B schools and making a career in the management field. If you would like personalized B school assistance, all you need to do is fill up the Google document. Link is available in the description of this video, and we'll send you individual B school recommendations which fit your profile and your career aspirations. A supermarket has to place 12 items coded A to L in shelves numbered 1 to 16. 5 of these items are biscuits, 3 of them are candies, rest are savories. So you have 12 items. So 5 biscuits, 3 candies, so there will be 4 savories. Only one item can be placed in a shelf, right? Now you have 16 items, 16 places and 12 items, which means there will be some shelves which will be empty. So you can mark it with a cross, shelves which are empty, right? Items are to be placed such that all items are to be of the same type, are to be clustered together with no empty shelf. So all the 5 biscuits will come together, all the 3 candies will come together, and all the 4 savories will come together, any order, right? We don't know whether savory is first, biscuits is second, and something like that, right? And at least one empty shelf should be there between 2 different items. So between them there should be at least one empty shelf. There might be 2, there might be 3, right? And it says at most 2, so it can be only 1 or 2 between them, right? And then you have information about this, like A and B are placed consecutively numbered, I and J are placed consecutively, D, E, F are savories, and so on. And then if you look at the question asks how many different ways can the items be arranged, which of the following is not a biscuit, which of the following can represent one of the possible arrangement. So 1 and 3 basically tell you that there might be multiple scenarios, might be, not necessarily. And 4th also says which of the following is necessarily true. Okay, so let's first try to get a rough idea of what it is, and then we'll go and solve the questions. Okay, so I've done this. Let's try to classify which of them are which. A and B are placed in consecutively numbered shelves. So A and B should be of the same type, right? And in increasing order. So if A is in 5, B should be in 6. If A is in 11, B should be in 12. If A is in 6, B should be in 7. It cannot be the other way around. It has to be in this order, right? I and J are to be placed in consecutively numbered shelves, but higher than A and B. So I and J come after A and B, but the order in which I and J come need not be the same. It can be J first, then I comes, and then J. Look at the difference in wordings. It says A and B are in consecutive number shift in increasing order, but here it does not use the word in increasing order. So the order of I and J need not be fixed, right? But we know I and J come after A and B. So A and B are of one type, I and J are also of one type. They may be the same type or they may be 2 different types. We don't know as of now, right? D, E, F are savories. So D, E, F are savories, and they come in consecutively number shelved in increasing order. So they come in that order, and after all the biscuits and candies have been placed. So you know the first bunch can be either biscuit or candies, second bunch can be biscuit or candies, the last bunch will be savories. That we know for sure. This is the order, the relative order of the 3. Okay, and we know out of the 4 savories, 3 of them are D, E, F. We don't know in which, we know the order of D, E, F. We don't know whether they are the last 3 or the first 3. Okay, K is placed in shelf number 16. So K is placed in shelf number 16. Irrespective of what the arrangement, K should be in shelf number 16. Now we also know there are only 3 types of items, right? So K has to be savories because savories are the last ones to be kept. So which means we know 13, 14, 15 will be D, E, F, irrespective of what happens. So we have fixed this part and K. So we have fixed all the savories. This is a nice one. Okay. Now we need to figure out which of them are biscuits, which of them are candies. L and J are items of the same type. So L also comes along with this bunch. Now L, J, I can all be candies because there are 3 candies, right? Or along with A and B, they can be biscuits, right? That is possible. We don't know. H is a different type. So H is a different group than this group, right? So H might combine with AB and all 3 of them might be candies. I and IJL might be biscuits, or the other way around, right? We don't know. Or as we discussed earlier, A, B, I, J, L might all be biscuits because there are 5 biscuits possible. Okay, now it says C is a candy. C is a candy and is placed in a shelf preceded by 2 empty shelves. So before C, there are 2 empty shelves. We'll figure that out later, right? Before C, there are 2 empty shelves, right? And it's a candy, right? L can be placed in a shelf preceded by exactly 1 shelf, right? Okay, now I, J and C cannot be the same type. I, J and C cannot be the same type because they are, C is a candy, and if I and J are to be put with C, then L also has to be put with C, right? Then it will make 4 candies. So I, J and L are biscuits. Let me just write them in the biscuits part. I, J, L are biscuits, right? That we know for sure. Now we also know H is a different type. So H will come with C. H will come with C, which means A and B now cannot come with C, right? Because if A and B come with C, then there'll be 4 candies, but there are only 3 candies available, which means A and B are also biscuits. So these are your 5 biscuits. There is only 1 item available, which is G, right? So we know which are the biscuits, which are the candies, which are the savories. We have also arranged the savories. Now let's try to arrange them, right? Now before C, there has to be 2 items, and the last statement says L has to be with 1 item. So L is the first among the biscuits to be placed, and there will be 1 item before that. And we know A and B come after that, and then I and J in any order. So we know roughly the order of the biscuits. Whichever way they are placed, there will be a blank space in front of them. Then there will be L. Then we know A and B in that particular order. And then it will be I or J in any order. This will be the order of biscuits. With candies, there will be 2 blank spaces before them. Then C and H or G in any order. We don't know the order of H or G. Now let's try to fit them together. Now all the savories are fitted, which means 12 should be a blank space, irrespective of where you put it. 12 should be a blank space. Now we can either put biscuits first or candies first. Now if I put candies first, right, you need 2 blank spaces. Then you have C, the next will be H or J, H or G, H or G. Then there will be a blank space for the biscuits. Then you'll have L, then definitely A, then B, and this will be I or J. Similarly, if I put biscuits first, there has to be a blank first, then L, then A, B, then I or J in any order. Then you'll place the candies. 2 candies, that will be C, and there will be H or J. Right? These are the 2 possibilities. There is nothing much given else. So we have arranged most of it. We also know which one is which. Let's go to the questions and see what is given to us and solve them. Okay, I have written this down neatly. So you have 2 sets of arrangements possible. First, where you have candies coming first, then biscuits, and then savories. And the second one, biscuits first, then candies, then savories. The X are the empty ones. I also know the classification of each of the items. Let's see. How many ways can the items be arranged in shelves? How many ways? This will be done in 2 ways. This will be done in 2 ways. 2 into 2, that's 4 ways. Again, this will be 2. This will be 2. 2 into 2, 4 ways. 4 plus 4 overall, 8 ways are there. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Which of the following is not a type of biscuit? We already know this. L, A, B, I, J are biscuits. These are all biscuits. So G. Question number 3. Which of the following can represent the number of empty shelves in the arrangements? We have two arrangements. We know the empty shelves. It can be 1, 2, 6, 12, or it can be 1, 7, 8, 12. 1, 2, 6, 12 option 4 is your correct choice. And the last one, which of the following is necessarily true? There are two empty shelves between the biscuits and the candies. Now, it is not possible in the first case because these 3 are candies, these 5 are biscuits, but there is only one empty shelf. So this is not necessarily true. It may be true, like in the second case, it may be true, but in the first case, it is not true. So it is not necessarily true. So this is out. All candies are kept before biscuits. Not guaranteed you can have biscuits before candies. Similarly, 4 is also out, which means 3 should be your correct answer. There are at least 4 shelves between B and C. Here between B and C, there are at least 4, and here also there are at least 4. So option 3. Not very difficult. Your first aim was to classify the items. Once you classify the items, look at the savories first, then try to fix them. An 8 to 10 minute in an actual exam situation. Second level sort of a question, but should be done. That completes this set. That completes this session on must-do sets for CAT LRDI preparation. Please do let us know in the comments below how you like this. Please do share this with your friends who are preparing for CAT and other MBA entrance examinations. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, or you can connect with us on WhatsApp and Telegram groups. The links are all available in the description of this particular video. If you are facing any problem with CAT LRDI sets, you can look at our YouTube channel playlist on how to prepare for CAT LRDI. If you want any specialized, personalized attention on LRDI preparation in the most structured manner, you can also look at our Ultimate LRDI course. This is the most comprehensive course which is available in the market. Till we meet again the next time, goodbye and all the best.